on the virtual conference and have just come on today or for this session. Just a couple of things as we move on. This is section 4, which is the recruitment and organising. Quite a busy agenda, so we could be disciplined. It's 3 minutes each in terms of speakers. You raise your hand once the mover and seconder are finished, and then I'll indicate who's due to come in to the debate. Just wanted to remind you, just in case you're all prepped up and prepared, that motion 14 was withdrawn, and that motion 17 was withdrawn. Hi, we've also got the interpreters, Steve, Hudson and Alison, Gifford, with us. So again, a warm welcome. They're here in the morning session. And if you need to spotlight them, you can spotlight them on the system. Okay, it looks like most people are now in to the conference, and I want to start on time. As I say, it's a full agenda. We're on motion 11, right? And it's standing in the name of the National Executive Council, and it's Ray Ellis, Head of Recruitment and Organising, to move the motion 11. Over to you, Ray.
Thanks very much, Jane. Ray Ellis to move motion 11 on behalf of the NEC. And the purpose of this motion is to put organisation at the centre of the union's activity. The CWU is an effective fighting independent union, which is something we all take pride in. But our survival as an independent union in the medium to long term, the next 5 to 10 years, depends on maintaining our strength where we have recognition and in building up a membership base and gaining recognition in other companies operating in the parcels and telecom sector and related parts of the economy. The second sentence of the motion is a bit self-critical, and probably rightly so. We haven't, as a union, sustained any consistent focus on organising outside of the recognised sector. And the second part of the motion is part of ensuring that we work with branches and reps to develop and maintain that focus going forward. But our industrial organisers and our branches and reps have given this union a membership density amongst directly employed permanent staff in companies where we have recognition, which would be the envy of most of the trade union movement. But the disruption and difficulty caused by the pandemic over the past 2 years has inhibited our efforts to recruit new members in both the recognised and non-recognised sector. We've seen a significant reduction in the number of members in recognised companies, amounting to around 6% of the total membership, which, were it to be sustained, would cause us major problems as a union. And while membership outside recognised companies is up, this is entirely the result of the creation of the UTOR branch. In scale, it can't, in the immediate future, compensate for losses amongst the recognised employers. So it's time for a reboot. Our industrial organising teams have developed plans to address and reverse this trend. And this motion is designed to put the full might of the union, the full weight of the union behind this effort with a national Grow the Union campaign focused on specific activity to run during the month of February. It will put a focus on recruiting and organising in the companies where we have recognition and doing specific work with the UTOR branch to grow membership in the tech sector. The intention is to begin activity immediately after the close of conference to plan for a period of focused activity throughout the month of February 2022, which will be launched at a national briefing in January. The Grow the Union campaign will be run, publicised and funded in much the same way that the union would run a campaign to deliver the vote in an industrial action ballot. A similar focus, a similar intensity, a similar clarity of purpose. And the aim is to produce a significant uptick in membership by the end of February. But organising is an ongoing activity, and just as important is embedding a recruitment and organising culture across the union. Recruitment is everyone's job. Every single representative in this union needs to take on board the fact that organising and recruiting new members is a fundamental part of everybody's activity. Nobody should underestimate the size of the task, and we can only be successful with everyone's full participation and the investment of time and resources to launch it with a bang in February 2022, and then sustain momentum going forward. The second part of the motion commits us to a consultation with branches and regions to provide a report for publication early in 2022, which will be in time for submission to a potential April conference. The idea is to review with regions, branches, organisers and industrial reps our priorities, strategies and tactics and activities going forward, to overhaul the joining process to make it easier, and to look at updating the membership system to support recruitment and organising efforts, among other things. Conference, this is a hugely important and timely motion. It's the right time for us to refocus on organising and recruitment to ensure that this proud union can continue to protect its members and deliver substantial, tangible benefits into the future. It's a central part of the overall approach we've been charting at this conference. I commend the motion to you and ask you to vote in support. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. The motion's formally seconded. So motion 11 is open to debate. If you want to raise your hands, please. I'll let a few people in. Right, we have got Nigel Bailey from South East Anglia first, followed by Andy Cousins. Just hang on while I'm checking where you're from, Andy. We'll sort that out. And Katrina Quirk then. Right, so Nigel Bailey first. And then I'll go through with you later on about how you can change your names to put your branches on. Okay, over to you, Nigel.
Thank you very much, Jane. President Conference, Nigel Bailey, South East Anglia branch, to oppose the motion. And I suspect that this is not going to be a popular decision on my part. I no doubt that this prop will go through. It's a worthy prop and it should go through. I'll be amazed if it doesn't. But I cannot, in all conscience, support it until we have answers, an answer to a very important question that my members want an answer to. Our postal colleagues are in a very enviable position in that they know that they will have a large number of people going into a particular site at a particular time, and they're able to recruit people within that site at that time. They're also very lucky in that they have a very high profile wins under their belt. The union is very good at reinstating members who have been unfairly dismissed, for instance. And of course, there's the Horizon scandal, which is a great win for the union. However, thus on the telecom side of things aren't that lucky. The vast majority of our members and potential members are spread out over vast areas. We're only a small branch and we cover parts of 3 different counties. And a lot of those members actually start from home. And we need to know what it is we've got to sell people, because at the moment we've had campaigns running which don't seem to have gone anywhere. We had the Our Hours campaign, which just seemed to fizzle out. We've had the Count Me In campaign running recently. And although it's been lauded about that this is a great agreement that's been made, it's not been put to our members for their approval that it's a good agreement. So we've got nothing there. There used to be a time when we could go into a training centre or an exchange or building, and we'd be able to say to people, look, this is who we are, this is what we do, we're really good at this. We had managed over the past few years, through the darkest days of the recession, to get a negotiated pay rise for you. We didn't last year because it was one imposed on us, and we had no pay rise on the telecom side of things this year at all. We used to be able to say we fight for job security. We can't say that anymore. When somebody's job may be moved at a moment's notice to the other side of the country, or indeed out of the country altogether. And we used to be able to say to people what we were told several times at various conferences. If there's one redundancy on this company, we will be immediately balloted for industrial action. On the 13th of November 2019, I done my first IC1 meeting with a member who's being made redundant. And when she came out of that meeting with me and she was in tears after 30 years of working, she was being made redundant. I told her the same thing, that if there was one redundancy, we would be balloted for industrial action. And we're still waiting, 2 years on. So please tell me something, give me something to sell, because at the moment we're like a shop in the high street with nothing on the shelves, but we expect people to come in each month and pay money for what? So please give me something to work with. Give me the paint I can put on a canvas to sell. Please do something that we have got to sell to people, because otherwise they will just walk away from us. As I said, I suspect this will carry on. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thanks, Nigel, for your contribution. Over to Andy Cousins, Bristol and District. Andy, and then it'd be Cleveland Amal, and then Steve Phillips, and then Paul Moffat, if he's put his hand up. Over to you, Andy. I don't know whether Andy's froze, or is it me? No, I've got other people moving on my screen. Andy, we'll come back to you. I'm going to go over to, oh, we're here. Andy? If you can
I can hear me, I think.
Yeah, you froze a little bit. Sorry
All
about
right,
that.
okay. I came into the branch to use this computer. I thought this one might be better, but hopefully you can hear me. I'll start again, shall I?
Yeah, start again, please.
So, supporting Motion 11. Obviously, this is really important. Of course, this is most one important activity that we carry out. We really need to recruit and organise. And actual fact, we've been looking at some of the figures. Ben Watts, branch secretary-elect, some of the figures, since in Royal Mail, for instance, since the recruitment class is finished. Now, we had a lot of success with those classes, and now Royal Mail decided to take those, to stop those recruitment classes, and it's online. So that presents a major problem for Royal Mail. I know it's not just about Royal Mail, but if I just talk about Royal Mail brief for a moment. We had a lot of success with those classes where we went along, we had an hour, and we understand that, Royal Mail have taken that decision and those classes are not going to come back. But we were very successful with those classes, not just for our branch, for other branches in the region. So it's very important that we replace that. Now, our branch, through our recruitment and organising committee, have already taken steps to start supporting the reps in the workplace to try and get the new members. I know we've got a number of certain number of non-members, which we need to get some of those, but for the new recruits. So we've already taken steps for that. What we've discussed really, and what we think, so we welcome the national campaign, of course. What we think there should be a number of key performance indicators in that campaign and in that strategy, so that we can evaluate what actually works and what doesn't, because it's no point, we feel, and just keep throwing money at things that doesn't work. So we think it's very important that there's those key performance indicators, so we can evaluate what works and what doesn't work. We don't think we should be throwing members' money at things that don't work. And some of that money, in the interim, till we've got an overall strategy, national strategy that works, that some of that money could be channeled into branches so that we can support the reps in the workplace, because that's particularly key. It's very important now more than ever that reps in the workplace, that we support those reps, train them and give them the necessary support they need to recruit new members. And of course, it's really important that we recruit across Royal Mail, BT and Parcel Force worldwide in that manner. So So fully support the motion. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Andy. We're going to go over to Cleveland Amal.
Yeah.
Hiya.
Can you hear me? Kevin Horseman, Equalities Officer, Cleveland Amal. In support of this motion, basically we should use the strengths already that we have in the CWU. ULR reps, learning reps, should be given more support, raising awareness of learning and the value of learning offered to our members in the workplace, championing the benefits, importance of courses, mathematics, computer studies, English, promoting learning as an affordable and accessible piece of information for them, whether it be online or in classrooms. I honestly believe investing in the ULR reps will promote hearts and minds, and when people are looking at joining this large union, they'll look at certain benefits, and especially the educational benefits. And I think the investment in the future for new entrants when they come in and they can see that there's going to be educational, benefits for them, especially in today's day and age, I think it's a positive. As I said, I support this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for the contribution. We've got Steve Phillips, Central Counties and Thames Valley, CCTV. Over to you, Steve.
Oh, thank you, President Conference. Steve Phillips, Central Counties Thames Valley branch. To fully agree with Nigel Bailey and his concerns, because we share his views on the Count Me In campaign. Our members are very angry, especially in Openreach in our branch. They were ready for a fight. We had a massive vote on our consultative ballot in our branch, the third highest in the country. They feel very disillusioned and let down. Personally, some of the Openreach members have come up to me and say how angry they are. They feel let down for all the reasons Nigel said. They want to stop the compulsory redundancies, the Better Workplace programme, building closures, and they want the terms and conditions protect terms and conditions. We are as a branch supporting this motion because we believe in the spirit of it, but concerns are there. Also, we've been asked to recruit non-members in Openreach. We will do that. We will go out and recruit these members. But how are we going to sell joining the union to these Openreach members that aren't in the union because of the CMI campaign, which our members think it was a complete capitulation. I'm going to be brief on that, but that's our views. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Over to Paul Moffat, Eastern Regional Secretary. Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. Right, conference and branches within the conference itself. Paul Moffat, Eastern Regions, wholeheartedly rising to, well, I'm sitting down actually, but in supporting the NEC motion. Now, I've listened to what Nigel and Steve have said, and whilst I don't disagree with the issues and the problems surrounding the campaign and the industrial action, you've got to look at it in its context, and the context is about an industrial IR ballot that's not taken place. Yes, there is disappointment out there, and yes, there is frustration out there. But, you've heard what Ray has said about this. This is an immediate requirement to stabilise and increase the membership density in postal and TNF constituencies. And then on the other hand, it's also said that a comprehensive report will be produced in early 2020 on the actions and the strategies. And those actions and strategies, I'm presuming, will cover off some of the problems within the questions that both Nigel and Steve have raised. Whilst they've said they support the motion, they can't support it because of an industrial action ballot. Well, I don't see that personally myself. It's a recruitment strategy for across the whole union. It's about all reps and all branches within this union, not just about one constituency and some of the problems in there. Whilst those problems have to be recognised, it is a national campaign, and it's going to be done throughout the month of February with the implementation to be carried forward. And it should be part of every single reps, every single branch and every single region's remit to do this on a day-to-day basis, which is something Ray had said we'd failed on over the years, and we have, some for a whole host of reasons. And I'll mention those in the motion that's coming up in motion 15 and some of the requirements in that. But the decline is not just for the CWU. It's not just akin to us. It's not just because we've sat on our laurels and not done anything, or because we've had an industrial action ballot that's, I would probably say, has not been done properly. And the issue is that people are frustrated and angry out there. But that remains. It's not, the decline is not akin to the CWU. It's a national trend that was within all trade unions. It's something that we are now taking seriously, recognising and dealing with in the month of February and beyond to try and address this problem. And if we don't address this problem, I'm telling you now, we will not be a standalone union. And I think you all know that. So this recruitment strategy, the problems you have now in some parts of the union is there's always been a duplication of control. That cannot happen now, and that's got to change now, where it's a national campaign involving all of us. It doesn't matter whether you're in TNFS, it doesn't matter whether you're in postal or whether in one of the other offshoots within the region that are non-core, or within the union rather. The fact is, it's for us all to deal with as one union and try and crack this impossible task that we've found over the years and make it work once and for all for us. Because otherwise, we don't get the core right, there's no point in us going outside, because we're not going to fix that either. So, conference, I'd encourage you to wholeheartedly support this motion and get behind it, and let's start doing the work that's been set out before us, and the work has got to be done before it's too late. So I support.
Paul, just before you go, if you can put me back, what branch were you speaking on behalf of?
Just on the region, that was.
Right, okay. Right, I'm going to call in Katrina Quirk, South East Wales. Katrina.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, Katrina Quirk, South East Wales, Amal, to support motion 11 with a couple of questions. Yeah, we know what happens and what should happen in our recognised domains regarding recruitment and organising. In fact, the Postal Executive carried a recruitment and organising document unanimously from the DGSP department last week, setting out our agenda for recruitment and organising going forward. However, what my branch and what we need to know and understand is where you're going and what is being proposed for the non-recognised industries. You talk about February 2022. Why are we waiting until then? Why aren't we moving forward now? And what have we been doing in non-recognised organisations up until now? I don't think we should wait. We should be moving forward with recruitment and organising now. And you should let branches know what they can do to assist in this project moving forward. Also, we need a strategy for outside of the core membership, and we haven't seen this strategy yet. However, once our branches and reps are aware of what the proposed strategy is going to be, I'm sure they will get behind it 100%. However, I believe we shouldn't be waiting. We should be moving on this now. It's talked about and been said on here how important it is. It's so important that we're waiting another 3 months before we actually do something. I think that's wrong. I think we should be working, and this strategy should have been ready and up and running for as soon as we come out of lockdown. It clearly hasn't been done. However, our branch will support the motion, but I would like an answer to some of the questions I've raised. Supporting the motion. Thanks, Jane.
Thanks, Katrina. We're off to Mark Elwood, West Yorkshire. Mark.
Hi there. Good afternoon, President and Conference.
Hi.
Mark Ellen from West Yorkshire branch. We are obviously supporting this motion, although I do sympathise with the previous speaker who felt he couldn't. I don't think it should need a motion. This should be part of everybody's DNA, recruitment and organising. But I understand why we're having a motion to try and get people mobilised. We have had these words before. Every year it seems to be at conference. We talk about recruiting and organising. We get a lot of words, we try things, but the action usually doesn't live up to the hype of the words. A couple of things I'd like to pick out from the motion itself. To me, it's crucial. It's about sustain and grow. Yes, we want new recruits, but we've got to sustain what we've got. We've got to keep those members. And we need to understand, why are we recruiting those members? Are we recruiting them for our finances, for our facility time? Or is our primary aim, as it should be, to protect those members and to improve their terms and conditions if we can? So I understand the previous speaker who has felt that members have been let down on the telecom side, and I do understand that, and I know where that feeling's coming from. But if we are going to point the fingers, I will start pointing the finger firstly at me, my branch. I was branch secretary. Why wasn't my branch ready to push the button at a moment's notice? We should have been, and we weren't. So I need to learn a lesson from that. Everybody needs to learn a lesson from that. If our leaders at Andy Kerr need industrial action, we need to say, yeah, well, you've got it. We don't need 3 months to check our records. We don't need 6 months to talk to every member. We need to get close to those members and always be close to them. So we need to be ready for action. 97% membership in Openreach is actually worthless if you can't mobilize it. So we need to look at everybody. Everybody, I'm not saying it's to blame, but everybody needs to learn from what has happened over the last 18 months in the telecom side and be ready. We do have issues of how we recruit in Openreach, but we need to get out there. We need to get close to members. We need to get out to the buildings, the exchanges. One of our reps in another branch, I remember saying he called it bumping. Get out there and bump into people, talk to them about the union, understand and get the issues from them. So to me, that retention is as crucial as the recruitment, because those members will go out and recruit for you if they feel this union is an active one. So get close to the members. We're not waiting until February. We know we've got a massive issue with recruitment in Openreach that have come in during the lockdown. We've started already. It's tough. But to quote a very excellent book on organising, and I recommend everybody to read it. I've forgotten the author's name, but it's called No Shortcuts from an organiser in the United States. Get that book. Understand why it's important to be close to members, but understand as well there are no shortcuts. We've all got to put that work in, and we've got to work extremely hard. So yeah, support the motion, but be prepared. Don't just pass the motion and forget it. It's got to be part of our DNA. Every single rep. Don't talk the talk, but don't walk and then not walk the walk. Meetings, discussions, we can have them, but prioritise. Membership comes first. So yeah, please support the motion.
Okay, just to let you know, because there's been opposition, Ray will have the right to reply. So at least he can answer some of those questions. So I'm now going to move on to Mark Walsh, followed by Michelle Reid-Hay. Over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Jane. Chair Conference, Mark Walsh, Greater Mersey branch. I'm probably the only branch secretary on the call who actually sees both sides of organising within this union. Due to the hard work and the diligence of our telecom secretary, we only lost one member over the disputes and the issues Nigel and Steve both talked about. But I do believe they were both talking about point one of the approach. Now, whilst our branch supports the motion 11, we do believe that they are right in terms of point one, that quite clearly one section of the union at this moment in time has to really go away and look at how they re-engage those members, because we did have large numbers of members who were not happy with the union nationally. I think there was a bit of a kickback to the branch. However, because we explained the situation and we're in a regular contact with our members chose that they actually understood some of the positions that the union had taken. However, there is some kickback to the national part of the union on the TNFS side. And I think Nigel mentioned it at the start. Moving forward, we've seen it certainly when we have new members, they're all home parkers. So there really is a massive difference between me going to a workplace where we're lucky we've got a rep in every workplace, where I can go and speak to the rep, identify new members coming in. But on the telecom side of the business, we certainly can't do that, because we don't have we don't have a list of anyone who's starting. And I think one of the things, and I don't know if it's going to be part of Ray's reply, but on the postal side, I get a list every day, or not every day, sorry, weekly, of Lynn Brown, of new starters within the postal industry, targeting who I go to see. I also got a list off Lynn Brown Monthly of people who've left or who are leaving the union. So again, it's up to me to try and speak to them. We do not get that on the TNFS side of the house. And I think if we're really serious about reinvigorating the membership on the TNFS and all parts of the union, we need to have some joined up thinking, and possibly that idea of informing us who's starting in the industry and who's leaving would be a good starting point. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Michelle Reid, hey, is there anyone else who needs to indicate? Okay, over to Michelle, Grampian and Shetland. And then I've got Lee Davey. Hiya, Michelle.
Hi there. Right, Grampian and Shetland branch wish to oppose this motion due to my own personal reasons and some of the branch secretary as well. We struggle to get free legal advice for our members. I have now got 3 that's been refused, which I don't understand why, because it's actually an accident within the business. I now have recruited owner drivers within the business. I know it's a swear word to some people, but it's still money in our pocket. I know I can't actually serve them with their contractual, but I can actually still represent them in other things. But one of the main things I can represent them is the legal advice is one of the things that they would have because of they are a contractor. I think we should look at this 10 points, the 10 reasons why we should recruit and the 10 reasons why they should come on board. I think it's a bit outdated and I think we should actually update that to what is happening today. So our branch opposes the motion.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Lee Davey, North Anglia. Lee?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can't see you, but I can hear you.
That's all right. I'm hiding now. Yeah, I totally empathise with what Nigel said. I'm not opposing, but there is an awful lot of things that need doing here, and I empathise with what Katrina said. You know, why February 2022? I think there's a lot of questions that have been asked and could have already been answered, and especially surrounding GDPR, going to non-members when that's been data scraped from the BT directory to our membership and that, and the questions are asked, is that legal? And who at HQ is going to take the flak if someone raises a formal complaint against that? They're the questions I'd like to have before I was comfortable approaching non-members. I'm not going to oppose, but them things should have been answered a long time ago. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Right, I've got no more indications that anyone wants to come into debate. Right, there's been opposition, so I'm going to bring Ray Alison to reply to the debate. Over to you, Ray.
Thank you, Jane. Well, to reply to the debate, I think I'm in the unusual situation of having to reply to more of the support than the opposition, because the opposition was very much around the specific issues relating to the Count Me In campaign, which was run in BT on the telecom side of the union. Look, I mean, I understand people's frustrations, but this isn't an industrial conference, and it's not really the site, I suppose, or the vehicle for a debate on that. I do understand that where people are feeling disillusioned, then it's going to be more difficult to motivate people. It's going to be more difficult to go and sign up new members. I think it's important, though, to make the point that the reduction in membership, which we've seen, is across the board. It was fairly consistent throughout the 2-year period in 2020 and 2021. It's not directly attributable to the Count Me In campaign. In fact, membership on the telecom side of the union declined, as it did on the postal side of the union during the period of that campaign. We do need to understand where people's heads are at, which is why a degree of preparation before we launch the national campaign in February is absolutely the right thing to do, because there will be differences in the way that we approach different sections of the membership. We need to discuss that, and we need to have strategies in place to make sure we do that in the most effective way. Coming back to some of the support. So we need to show results, I think was one of the points that I think it was Andy made. And certainly in terms of KPIs, while we wouldn't specifically have KPIs, it's absolutely right that we test what works and what doesn't. And I suppose the difference with what we're planning here is we intend to use hard metrics as part of this campaign, not in a way to embarrass people or expose people, but exactly to do that, to see what's working and what isn't working, and to tailor what we're doing accordingly. In terms of the question about strategy outside core, well, I think I'd take issue with the suggestion that we've been, in any sense, waiting. In the last couple of years, we've set up an entirely new branch, which is the Utah branch, which is the fastest growing branch in the union. It is the reason why, actually, on amongst the non-recognised sector, we've grown membership, because otherwise, interestingly, we were facing the same level of decline outside, which suggests that it is a more general issue than a CWU issue that we're trying to address here. But we continue to do work in those companies where we've got a membership base. We continue to try and increase that base. And we're working on developing new strategies since we've absorbed into the central organising team the 4 telecom organisers. So it isn't a question of anyone in any part of the union, I think, sitting around waiting for February. And I welcome the fact that the PE carried the document that it carried last week, which is entirely in accordance with its existing policy and existing national policy in terms of developing and organising agenda. And I think it fits in perfectly with what this motion is seeking to do by putting a specific focus at a specific period to give us a bounce in terms of resetting our organising objectives. In terms of, I mean, I think that's the main issues that came up. I can't answer the specifics on GDPR, Lee, but if you tell me what that is, I'll attempt to do so. In terms of free legal advice, similarly, Michelle, I can't really answer that because I don't know the background to it. But in principle, it's an issue to address rather than, I would suggest, an issue to oppose what is clearly a timely motion in the interests of the union, in the interests of our members. Finally, in closing, why February 2022? Well, there's always a reason that you can find another time to do it. It's 2022 because if we're going to mount a proper campaign on a national basis to provide the focus that we need, we're going to need to work with branches and regions in order to do that. It's going to take a little bit of time. We're doing it in the run up to Christmas, which for postal branches is particularly difficult. So it's as soon as we could possibly launch a campaign of this kind in the confidence that it will be effective. And I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right time to do it. And I recommend that you vote in favour of support for motion 11. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Ray. We now move on to the vote. Motion 11, if you could vote on your platform, that would be excellent. And then I'll announce the result as we get it through. Right, everyone, I've got the vote in for motion 11. If you just bear with me. Right. The total of votes cast was 167,787, which is 167,787. Votes in favour, 157,998. Votes against, 9,789. Motion 11 is carried. Okay. Right, we can move on to motion 12. Standing in the name of Greater Mersey and South West Lancs, Mark Walsh to move and Angela Teelan to second. Over to you, Mark. You there?
Yeah, I've got about 6 different buttons in front of me, but I've done it, thanks.
You done it now, okay.
Mark Walsh, Greater Mersey branch to move motion 12. And moving on from the last debate, we believe our motion actually puts some meat on the bone, if you like, and sets out some of the things that we should be looking at doing. In line with the first motion, we recognise that some of our workplaces where we have members, I said, as was discussed in the first motion, not all members work to workplaces, but we should be looking at making sure that we utilise our union spaces in those workplaces as part of any recruitment drive moving forward. Make sure that the notices are up to date and we have contact details that are still in use and not ones from the past. We also set out, and we don't believe that we're the experts in thinking of things that we can do to move forward. But as Dave Ward mentioned on a number of occasions during the conference this week about the world of work and how we engage not just our membership, but the wider membership, we put some things forward that we believe we should be looking to consider, if not utilised, to engage people who either haven't been part of a trade union, or maybe have left a trade union, or don't actually know anything about trade unions. They can be, whether it's advertising at bus stops or train stops, whether we advertise outside workplaces, if we know a new site's going up. So for argument's sake, if there's an Amazon warehouse or a Hermes warehouse opening up in one of our areas, we can take an advert out. Most councils offer adverts on roundabout spaces to advertise the trade union, whether it's whether we do it as the CWU or we take it forward to the TUC to do, and other our brothers and sisters and other trade unions, about engaging and about showing those workers, the new coming into these new jobs, that there is trade unions out there who'd be interested in representing them, and let's be honest, improving their working lives. We also believe that we should be looking at utilising technology. Anyone who Googles or what all the other search engines, there's pop-ups around that. We believe maybe we should be considering whether we pay to have some pop-ups around, whether it's jobs in telecommunications people are looking for, whether it's jobs in parcels at network industry, things like that. Those are the things that we believe we should be looking to try and do. As I said, the list isn't exhaustive. We don't believe to be the experts. Anyone, I didn't watch it actually, it's my wife who told me, anyone who watched Coronation Street the other night would have been surprised to hear that the Orgrave dispute was mentioned. So, you know, even having a conversation on stuff that's on television. Years ago in Liverpool, I think there was a show called Brookside. Anyone who remembers Ricky Tomlinson was in that. He was a trade unionist. He was a shop steward. He was always talking about workplace things on that show. You know, there's writers' unions, equity. We should be speaking to those unions as well to see if we can get an input into some of these shows that are on the TV. I remember years ago in EastEnders, there was a postman there. I don't think he ever carried his mailbag around, but he certainly never talked about the union. But again, I believe that's something that we can look to try and have an input on, because every postman, every telecoms worker will, certainly in our industry, would know all about the union. And finally, I'll just finish on saying that we've seen, certainly on the postal side, a bouncing membership around the 4 Pillars campaign. I think in our branch, we did see a bounce as well on the Count Me In campaign. So industrially, when we do things, we do on our union, certainly improve our membership. We believe this is a motion in the right direction, not just for our trade union, but also for trade union movement. And we'd like you to support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Over to Angela Teelan. Angela to second.
Well, thank you, Jen. Thank you, conference. There can't be anything harder than seconding your own branch's motion when all the arguments are put there. But I just like to say that we say recruitment and organising, and maybe that's one of the fundamental issues that we need to face, because if we were to put organising first and then recruitment, it would naturally follow. I think this section on organising and recruitment ties in the whole of this conference. It ties in with motion 9, where that was going to create materials for campaigns. That's what we're asking for. It ties in with what Dave spoke about with the World of Work this morning. To quote him, he was on about growing the movement, building collectivism. He said we need to shake up the whole movement, even if that means shaking up the TUC. And then he said the key question was, how are we going to mobilise working people? And how are we going to mobilise them? Because not everybody is a trade unionist, and that's what we should be aiming for. And to oppose the motion on the fact that we're aiming really high, when yesterday we spoke about what we want to achieve within the Labour Party, and that we're staying in the Labour Party because we're fighters. So let's fight within our own movement to get people trade unionists, so that no matter where they work, they seek out the union in the place. And that's why we speak as a motion about using bus stops to advertise what a trade union is, not just to advertise a trade union, but so when people are waiting for the bus, they can read what a trade union is and maybe gather some interest. The pop-ups Mark talked about for the same thing. I'm fortunate. I grew up in a house where my dad was always a shop steward. We always knew about trade unions, but not many people do. And we went into schools to talk to some people doing business studies. They have a part on that course about collectivism and with unions, trade unions. And there was only one in the whole class that had heard of trade unions because their mum's a Unite rep. These are the things that it's a far-reaching motion, but it doesn't go outside the parameters of any other motion within this conference. It touches on everything. We do industrial campaigns and we go at them with vigour. We're looking for that vigour to be put in for recruitment, and we're looking for more vigour really for organising, because yesterday I said it, we talked about the Labour Party, but all our members don't vote. We're talking about should we disaffiliate or not. That'd be an easy choice, wouldn't it, if all our members voted for everything? They don't even vote in our national elections. We have more taking part in branch elections than we do for national officers. I mean, what does that say about how we're reaching out to our members at all? They're not even interested in above their own branch. You know, we try to get people to come on marches. It's the same old face, isn't it? We all know each other on this conference because we all meet up every time there's an event, a conference or a march. It's the same people. And I do struggle as an individual to recruit people, because I say, are you in a union? And if they say no, I can't get beyond the point of why not? Because to me, why wouldn't you be? It's the best thing. I'm a trade unionist before I'm anything else, really. So this motion talks about reaching out to the TUC, which I don't really know what they do. They've got, on their website, they say there's 32.4 million employment people in Britain, and they represent 5.5 million. I'm asking that we aim high, we aim fast, and that we do organise and we do become aspirational. I ask you to support this motion. There might be some cost financially, there's cost to everything. We've got no time limits on it, so you can start on it tomorrow. So please support the motion. I second. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Right, motion 12 is open for debate. If you want to raise your hand, raise your hand. Right, and I'm going to take you in order you've come on the screen. So Nigel Bailey beat Ben Watts, which is a major achievement on earlier, Ben. So over to Nigel Bailey.
Thank you, Jane. Nigel Bailey, South East Anglia branch, rising to support this prop. It's fantastic. Please get behind it. It wasn't that long ago, I seem to remember standing at conference saying that we need an advertising department. We've got every other sort of department that a major company would have, but we haven't got an advertising department. We don't get out there. We don't tell the wider world what we do. And this prop is going some way to actually say, this is who we are and this is what we do. And this is what we should be getting behind. You know, I got up a couple of years ago and said, you know, I'm a secret lemonade drinker and I use shake and vac still, and I still do the dance, because everybody remembered it. And if we can get adverts out there that people remember, they'll remember not just the CWU, but they'll remember the importance of being a member of every union. So please get behind this. We're backing it 100%. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thanks, Nigel. And I know when you're dancing, you're doing the shake and vac. And that's how come you're moving. Okay, Ben Watts, Bristol and District, followed by Dave Banbury, Kent and Victor. Over to you, Ben.
Good afternoon, President. Good afternoon, Conference. Yeah, so Bristol and District, we're rising to support this motion. So I like the way, well, the branch likes the way that the motion was written, and particularly, easy for me to say, was how it is proactive rather than a reactive motion. I think that's really, really important. And just bearing in mind, I actually think we think it's really, really good how it works. It can work with motion 11. Specifically the second paragraph where of motion 11, it works really closely. You know, when you talk about planning and strategic plans, etc., but we can link motion 12 into motion 11. Really, really important as well is we had a debate. We've had a debate yesterday and today about how we're going to deal with recruitment, specifically in younger members. So this is key as well. Some of the things that we're listing here, technology, TV, pop-ups, hopefully, this can bring an easier way of trying to get those members and get those, because obviously quite clearly, I don't know, I could speak on behalf of my own branch where we definitely have issues with dealing with trying to recruit younger members. So this is thinking outside the box. This is something that we need to do. I don't think there's anything in that the motion that we shouldn't be trying to achieve. I suppose the only thing, which is maybe, but we are obviously fully supporting it, but it's just the cost side of it. But then that comes down to the strategic planning, and that can be worked out with motion 11 as well. Fully support this motion. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Over to David Banbury. Dave.
Thanks, Jane. Conference, David Banbury on behalf of the Kent and Victor branch, jealously rising to support, because I wish we'd put the motion in ourselves. It's a great motion, to be honest with you, because it actually builds on exactly what we've been talking about over the last couple of days. It talks about really getting out there, communicating with the working people out there, getting in contact with them, explaining to them what trade unionism is about, ensuring that that's part of life. When I was a kid, I'm a trade unionist because my dad worked in the docks in London. I knew what a trade union was. I was brought up on trade unionism because of that, because he was on strike more than he was at work at sometimes. But, that's because at my point in my life, trade unions as a young lad growing up were just part of life. That's not the same now. People don't understand. Young people coming out of school, coming out of university, colleges, don't really understand what trade unions are. They walk into our workplace. We talk about joining the CWU. Well, what's a union? I don't even know what a union is. So this is really about getting out there, isn't it? It's about getting out there into the communities, which, Dave Ward said, that's where we need to be. We need to be at the forefront of all this. We need to be at the forefront of change. And this is making trade unions right out there. Right out there, no different to Amazon when they're advertising. Yes, there is cost to that, but we're not saying all the cost falls on the CWU. The motion isn't saying that, is it? It says work with other like-minded bodies. So if we can do that, and I'll be honest with you, I've always believed, in education. And if we can educate people about trade unionism, then it becomes a natural thing when you walk through the door, you want to join a trade union. It's not such an hard sell. And that should be what we should be aiming at for every trade union, not just the CW, but every trade union. People should want to join a trade union, should see what a trade union is about. My belief is, and I said it years ago in our own branch, and we discussed it, and we did set up a sort of like a stall in the high streets a couple of times with other trade unions, where we should be a one-stop shop for people to come to when they've got any employment problems. We should have a shop on the market as trade unions. All the trade unions in there so that they can go for advice, a bit like citizens' advice, so that we are actually there, right in people's faces every day of the week, so people think these are the people out to protect us. These are the people out there driving our terms and conditions up. So couldn't do anything else but support what a fantastic motion, and I congratulate the Greater Mersey and South West Lancs branch for bringing this to conference, and I urge you to support it.
Okay, thanks, Dave. On to Llewellyn Moss, South Yorkshire branch.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fantastic. So first time speaking at Rostrum.
Right, just let us all give you a clap, Llewellyn. Well done.
Them,
I know, you can imagine it. It's a round of applause. Go on.
Cool. Excellent. Well, I'm rising to support this motion. Obviously, as I see, it's our branch in South Yorkshire has been working quite hard at recruiting, and what there's a few things to say. For those who are concerned about the costs of like getting new members in, we've got to think of this almost like a business. I hate to put it like that, but that's the way it is. If we're going to put loads of money up and get a load of new members, they're going to be paying their fees, and that is going to further our cause. So we need to not worry too much about that. On the other hand, I've seen but we've almost taken it a step further with our branch as well, because we've spent money with on advertising. We have a group that we're working with who are doing our advertising for us, doing a lot of work online, and we see where our money goes. And I think we need to take things a step further and not just look at grassroots, but pay other organisations to do what we don't know how to do, because we're not working advertising, we're communication workers, we're union. I think that's about it. I mean, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Llewellyn. It's always great to be a first-time speaker. I'm sure we'll see you at the rostrum next year, and at least, you know, you can get up there and say, first time that we're all together, you can get up as well.
Yeah, for heart's rate, that slows down a bit.
Cheers. Right, I've got Steve Phillips, followed by Ralph Ferret. If there's anyone else who wants to come up, raise your hand. If not, I shall call Ray Alison after Ralph Ferret. Over to you, Steve.
Oh, thank you, Jane. Conference. We had a branch mandate to listen and decide on this, but after the debate and what Mark has said and Angela, we will be fully supporting this motion. I'll just make you aware, Jane, that my voting platform has stopped working about the last, so I don't know why.
Right, we'll get that checked out for you, if that's okay.
All right. I didn't want to raise a point of order on it, but there you go. All right, thank you.
Yeah, at the moment, the votes, I know there may be one or two branches who haven't been able to use the vote, but they've not been close enough where you would, say there's a major issue. But obviously, the background team and the tech team will have a look. Right, we've got Ralph. Right, we've got Ralph Ferret, followed by Lee Davey, who we can now see. Okay, over to you, Ralph.
Thanks, Jane. Ralph Ferret, rising on behalf of my branch to oppose the motion. I feel like I'm in a bit of a parallel universe here, because this motion just seems cream crackers to me and to my branch. And I know which way the wind is going. I haven't gone down in a blaze of glory on a conference prop for a while, but sometimes you just got to say things the way you see them. I mean, first up, the preposition of this motion is that an advertising campaign is going to be a good way for us to build greater trade unionism. I just disagree with the theory behind that. I don't think there's any evidence that suggests that somehow paid advertising campaigns are likely to be the way we can turn things around. A lot of the speakers have talked about young workers coming into the industries, not knowing anything about trade unions, talking about getting internet pop-ups on their screen. I hate to break it to everyone, the kids know how to use the internet. They don't ever see the pop-ups because they use an ad blocker and have been for years. It's only old people who don't know how to use the internet that ever see an internet pop-up. People keep talking about how, oh, it's not about the money, it's something that's important for us to do. The reality is the CWU has a limited amount of resources. Now, even if an advertising campaign, like a national advertising campaign listing all of the many things that are on this prop were to be able to be effective, how much would it cost to get those adverts on a scale that's actually going to get through to people? How long are we going to have to run it? How much is it going to have to cost? What are we going to measure it against? Dave said when supporting the motion that this isn't just going to be down to the CWU. The motion explicitly means that this is a campaign of unions. So the output of the campaign won't be something that's directly measurable for our union. And over what time frame are we going to measure this? You know, is it going to be in 20 years' time? How are we going to know how many of the new members have come from this? How much is it going to cost? I think there are far better ways that our trade union can spend money to get people engaged in our trade union in the workplace and outside than a cross trade union movement advertising scheme. It would be a waste of money. There would be no mechanism by which we'd be able to work out if it worked or how much it worked. And our tried and tested methods are much better. This union is at the forefront of how we communicate to our members and to the wider public. We do it better than anyone. This would be a costly, wasteful distraction. And I urge everyone in the union to really think about why they're backing this prop and think about what a union does well. Please oppose.
Okay, thanks, Ralph. I've got Lee and Tom Walker. After Tom, I'm going to bring Ray Alison. And now there's been opposition moved. Mark Walsh will have the right to reply. Okay, so over to you, Lee.
Hello.
Hello.
I thought I'd show myself this time because I am quite youthful, and that was my first ever speech last time, and I missed my round of applause. So I am supporting this, and mainly because of my age demographic and the fact that many people I speak to, friends of mine, when they find out what I do for a living, they don't know what a trade union is. And as it goes down towards, you know, I'm in my 20s, a lot of people don't know what trade unions are, and that's a scary thing. And I was brought up, you know, my dad was on the firm. The day I joined, I was marched in and forced to join. That's the way it was. Well, it should be, in my opinion. Yeah, so highly supporting this, and I disagree. It's a waste of money, and that I think COVID in a way with the not having conference, there's quite a bit of money in the coffers, and I think as communications go on that, the way you can use and implement the internet platforms with target advertising, Facebook. And then you've got terms of like ROI, which is return on your investment, call to actions, could be utilized to its best ability. So I think it's a great one after I was a little bit negative on the last one. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lee. Thanks for your contribution. Right, I've got Tom Walker and Gloucestershire Amal. That's Billy, isn't it? Right, I'll take Tom, Gloucester. I'm going to do the last call. Is there anyone who wants to come into this debate? Can you put your hand up now? Okay, because I am mindful there is other business on the agenda as well. Okay, over to you, Tom.
Right, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Tom. You're looking well.
Yeah, not too bad. It's all stereo. Can't afford to eat. Anyway, so Northern Ireland Counties Postal to support the motion. We're not really going to say anything until there was opposition. It was asked what evidence is there of an advertising campaign working? Well, one of my former reps, John McIrvine, works now for Unison, and they did this. They had a massive advertising campaign, or TV, radio, local media, national media, and from what he tells me, it was a massive success. They overtook Unite as the biggest membership trade union in the country, and according to him, it was worth a couple of 100,000 members, which is equivalent to the entire size of us at the moment. So if somebody wants demonstrable proof of somewhere where this has worked, look no further than Unison. That's good enough for me. Support.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Right, last speaker will be Billy Hunt, then I'll bring Ray Alison, and then Mark Walsh has got the right to reply because there's been opposition. Okay, over to you, Billy.
Thank you, Jane. Billy Hunt, Gloucestershire Mail. Just to touch on the point of the money aspect, really. First of all, it's obviously an investment, isn't it? Putting money into that. That's what big companies do. There's a reason they do that. It's because it gains, the people to see their brand awareness, and it'll be the same for the union. And then, where is the money from? The union has spent a lot of money recently, which I think could be ploughed into the advertising campaign. You've got the big balloons, which we raised. There's a CWU golf cart as well, which we spent thousands of pounds on, and stuff like that could certainly be invested into the union and gaining membership for the union. And of course, there's the selling of Alvescott, hundreds of thousands of pounds being raised from that from the selling of that. Where's the money for that gone from? Why can't that be put into invest in the union, get the adverts out there, make sure that people know what the union is, what it's about, and get it going for the future. So yeah, there's definitely the money there. If it's not there, it should be there because there's definitely money being raised from elsewhere. So I urge everyone to wholeheartedly support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Billy. Right, I'm going to bring Ray Alison on behalf of the NEC. Over to you, Ray.
Thank you, Jane. Ray Ellis on behalf of the NEC, with the onerous task of asking the branch to remit the motion. And if the branch won't remit, to ask conference to oppose. It's an onerous task for two reasons. One is, I know Greater Mersey has always been historically very reluctant to remit motions, although it's not without precedent. And the other is, like Ralph, I think I can see what way the wind is blowing. But nevertheless, I am asking the branch to remit, and if they won't, I'm asking conference to oppose. It's been an interesting debate. I think the problem is that much of the debate had very little to do with the precise terms of the motion. We do live in a society where trade unions have been somewhat marginalised in the general national discourse. I was talking to somebody who's nearly as old as me, it's Dave actually, the other day about how you used to see people like Tom Jackson, Clive Jenkins, Hugh Scanlon, Jack Jones, trade union leaders on primetime television. They'd be interviewed on talk shows. You'd see them at whatever the programme was in those days, Nationwide or whatever, when the Sex Pistols weren't on it, being interviewed on issues that affected working class people. It doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen partly because of the shrinking in size of the trade union movement over that period of time, but partly also, I think, because the whole discourse has changed and we have a media which is indirectly and sometimes directly hostile to the idea of working class organisation. We live in a different world. So the points that have been made about the difficulty, we can't assume anything anymore when a young person comes into the workplace that they know anything at all about trade unionism is entirely valid. And as a movement, we need to think of ways of addressing that. But the problem with the motion, I agree with everything that was said in terms of moving and seconding and most of the support for the motion. I'm not sure I agree with Billy that we've got lots of money that we can we can suddenly spend on an advertising campaign, but most of the things that were said in support of the motion I wouldn't disagree with. The problem with the motion is, though, that it's very specific in terms of what it asks us to do. The instruction is to follow the contents of this motion in relation to CWU recruitment campaigns. And there are some of the terms of this motion which would not be appropriate for CWU recruitment campaigns. They'd be a waste of money. And we've got to make our minds up. Is this something we're entering into as a union unilaterally? Is this an instruction, as it has to be, to the NEC of one union, or is it something which depends on the support of other unions? Now, look, I think it is right that we explore with other unions ways of raising the profile of the trade union movement in general public discourse in this country. You can't do that, I would suggest, by putting adverts at bus stops and train stations. There are ways that you can do it, and we've looked in the South Yorkshire branch, actually. I'm glad Llewellyn spoke, because the South Yorkshire branch has been very proactive and innovative in ways of doing that through use of geofencing and geotagging, which is something that we've picked up on, thanks actually to the South Yorkshire branch, we've picked up on as part of national organising initiatives, where we specifically target locations where we're seeking to recruit. And you can get messages to people if they're using their mobile devices, or even if they're not using their mobile devices in those locations. Presumably, Ralph, so long as they haven't got the ad block up. But the problem is the motion gives us some very specific instructions. The debate was all about the generality, and it's very difficult for anybody to disagree with any of the points that have been made in support of the motion. Carrying the motion would tie us into specific actions, some of which may be relevant, others of which are not. What we agreed in motion 11 was to further develop the overall CWU recruitment and organising strategy through a consultation with branches and regions. If this motion is remitted, that motion will be part of that conversation. So, I mean, on that basis, Mark and the branch, I would ask you to remit on the assurance that when we're talking to branches and regions, the terms of this motion as a remitted motion will be part of that discussion, and we will be able to take it forward on a more considered basis than I think we're able to do at the moment. On that basis, I would ask you to remit. If the branch can't remit, then I would ask conference to oppose the motion.
Okay, thanks, Ray. Ray, is Mark and the branch remit? We need to get Mark on. Just wait, Mark Walsh. Have you got to unmic Mark so he can do his right to reply? But I need to ask, does he want to remit first? I wouldn't like to presume.
Thanks, Jane. Ray knows me quite well. He knows that I won't be remitting, so we'll carry on.
Right, you've got the right to reply, Mark.
And you might as well go straight to Ralph. But I actually had absolutely no surprise when I saw Ralph pop in, and he talked about the tried and tested. Well, we've done okay. Well, we clearly haven't, because we've had motion 11 on the pad, and we've now got motion 12, and we were actually asked as branches to send stuff in on organising. So quite clearly, just staying as we are doesn't work. I do recall on a couple of, at least one conference call on the 4 pillars dispute, Ralph also calling for paper adverts during the dispute. Now, unless they were free paper adverts, I don't know, but they would have cost money. But it was all right to do it then. We've done a number of things over the years in this union we should be proud of. I know there was a debate by Michelle before about the solicitors, but who would have thought 10 years ago we'd own our own solicitors? But it's something that we had to do. We went out and did it. The comms department, who would have thought? Someone mentioned the golf cart, the balloons, the comms department, the work that the comms department's put out, what it's done over the last couple of years. Certainly what it's done for us in terms of anyone who works in parcel force stopping 2p, the 4 pillars agreement, the disputes that involved that. And no one's challenged what the cost of the comms department is, because it's providing a service to the members of this union. Well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of what our motion's asking for. We're asking to explore these ideas, to explore moving forward. Now, I know some things won't work. It's not a one-size-fits-all in every part of the country. We're a branch who has members and non-recognised. We're currently in talks with an Italian telecoms company to try and sign their members up. Who pays for that? The members of our branch pay for that. The BT know about it. The Royal Mail know about it. No, I don't tell them. We go out there, we speak to those members, and we represent those members as the best we can. And it's not just an assumption that young people don't know about trade unions. Let's be honest, there's some older people don't know or don't want to know anything about trade unions. Older people, in terms of the pop-ups and technology, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's a motion that we were asked to look at about improving organising, not just within this trade union, by the way, but the wider trade union movement that's been static for a number of years. A bit of a bounce during COVID, where the membership of the TUC went up. We're part of the Trade Union Congress. I'd like to think that most people who are on this today, we recognise the value of being in a trade union because of our terms and conditions, what we have that some of our neighbours and some of our friends don't have. Regular wages, good terms and conditions, and they're backed up by collectivism. Now, we've got a decision to make today. We either carry on as we have been, or we actually enhance the previous motion 11 and put number 12 on. I'd like to thank everyone for getting into the debate, because I think you're right. It does enhance what number 11 did. And we'd ask you to support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Right, I'm going to put motion 12 to you. So if you want to get voting on the platform, and apparently the previous person who raised that there was an issue, they've been emailing with Angela Niven. So thanks, Angela, for getting that sorted, as well as the other tech people who are down in the comms department, Hayley and April. Okay. Right, you're busy pressing the button. I'm now going to be busy telling you I haven't made a mistake. I just never announced at the carriage of motion 11 that 18 falls. So motion 18 has fallen. I'll remind you when we get there as well. And as I say, motion 14 was withdrawn and motion 17 was withdrawn. So the next motion after the ballot result will be motion 13, standing in the name of London Phoenix, but obviously we have to wait for the result in. Right, if anyone wants a little tutorial on how you can put your wallpaper on your screens, if you look at your video where it says stop video, you've got your video icon, there's a little triangle pointing upwards. This is on my laptop. If you press that, it says choose virtual background. So you can choose a virtual background. And reappear like that, but you have to have pictures on your laptop. So they are. Don't say we're not educational. I shall revert back to the photograph that I absolutely love, and if anyone can find out who painted it, it'd be greatly appreciated. Which is this one. And that come out during COVID, and I still can't find out who drew it or who painted it. But that's my favourite picture of COVID. Oh, I'm laughing saying I'm a pro on virtual. I just like shortcuts and people to point at things for me. That's the easiest one for me. Right, I've got the ballot result in on motion 12, the votes. The total votes casted was 163,539. For the motion, 90,000 151. Against the motion, 71,908. Motion 12 is carried. Okay. There is no consequentials on motion 12. And as a reminder, my mistake, the carriage of motion 11 meant that motion 18 falls. So we're moving on to motion 13. London Phoenix branch, Mick Kirby to move, I believe, and Damien Ibsen from Southwest Middlesex to second, and Norman County on behalf of the NEC. So if we can have Mick Kirby.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jack.
Hiya, Michael, with your Sunday name, okay? So we put Michael Kirby on. They'll ask you to unmute.
Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, Mick.
Right. Mick Kirby,
over to you.
Mick Kirby, London Phoenix branch, to move motion 13 on behalf of my branch. And I am mindful of the time, so I will be a little bit brief. Right. This motion is self-explanatory and quite simple, really, because for a number of years, we've seen a decline in the membership of retired members. And I do note that the last two motions also refers to the decline in membership, but neither of them refer to the retired membership. All right. We've seen for a number of years the decline in the membership of retired members, and this is listed on the union's website, and it needs to be urgently addressed to bring the retired membership up to a more sustainable level. And this motion calls for the NEC to set up a cross-constituency subcommittee to look at the reasons for this decline and to come up with some sort of proposals to be solutions to it. The subcommittee shall then produce a report to be ready no later than annual conference 2020. I'll be that brief, and I'll urgently ask everybody to support this motion, because we might be old, but we're not dead yet. Thank you.
Thanks, Mick. Right, not the best of comments I'd say at the moment to say that. Right, seconder, Damien. Is Damien on? Damien Ibsen, Southwest Middlesex.
Yeah, I'm here, Jane.
Hiya, Damien. Over to you for seconding.
Yeah, I'm Damien Ibsen, rising to second on behalf of my branch, Southwest Middlesex. President Conference, it's no extreme statement to say that we're hemorrhaging membership, and retired members are slowly declining. I've noticed occasionally we get the odd comment that we need to get on websites and keep in touch with people and our smart pads and our smartphones. Well, a great deal of our membership don't know how to use a smartphone. We're still dinosaurs and we use pen and paper. We've only just got past quills. So we will get in touch. We will keep in touch with people, but we get told all the time that we are the lifeblood of this union. Our vast experience is necessary and it's needed. And I did say to somebody I wasn't going to waffle, so I'll keep it fairly short. We do need to find some solution to sorting out recruitment for members. Yes, and I think the advertising campaigns did work well in Unison. I think it would work here. But for our benefit, for retired members, we need to keep in touch with them. And the people that are actually retiring or getting EVR, we're letting those people slip out through our fingers as well. So we need to keep them. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Motion 13 is open for debate. Put your virtual hand up. Just hang on, Norman, for a bit. Is there no debate? Okay, Norman Candy on behalf of the Postal Executive, sorry, the NEC. Sorry, Norman, go back a few years there. Over to Norman. This should come on your screen, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you, Norman. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jane. Afternoon conference. Norman Candy, retired members section, NEC member. Look, Mick and Davian have been brief, and I'm going to be brief as well, because there's a lot of other stuff on the pad that people want to get onto, and the time's moving on. But I do want to say a few things. I mean, the first thing is that this, the wording of this motion is already the policy of the Retired Members Committee. Been discussed at 2 past conferences, and it's already the policy of that committee. And if you go to a meeting of retired members, whether it's a regional meeting, branch meeting, or a national meeting, this is one of the issues that have come up every time they get together, because it's a major problem. Now, there's and what you'll also get, as well as getting it coming up as an issue, you'll always get a load of people come up with reasons for it. There's 100 different reasons why people think that we're not retaining retired members, and they range from the Disclosure of Information Act to members leaving before retirement age because they're taking EVR and slipping through the net, and also that branches, some people say branches just are not doing the job. Some branches are not doing the job, but we know that some branches are doing the job because they're very good at it, but there are other parts of the union where they're not so good at it. So on the assumption that this is going to be agreed, we've already put in place, Tony's department have already put in place an asked request for the subcommittee, and we've had a large number cross constituency, different parts of the union who have put their name forward. So that subcommittee will be up and running if this is agreed, and it will be producing a report by conference 2022. But it's going to need the support of every branch in the union, as it'll be completely pointless. Now, we also need to say, or I need to say, that we do realise that we need to improve comms for the retired members. This often comes up at meetings with retired members and with existing members. So we are re-establishing a quarterly magazine that's going to be going out with the Christmas edition of The Voice. It's going to be called The Veteran, and it's within that there's going to be another new incentive that we've got, which is going to be a helpline, a telephone number that retired members can ring if they can't get through to their branch, or they got a problem that they feel that the branch can't deal with. Then there will be a helpline for the people to get in touch with. A lot of people, a lot of retired people say to us that they don't use the internet, they don't use mobile phones, and so there'll be a facility for people to contact headquarters directly with any problems that they might have, and write in letters. So we've also got we put stuff extensively on the website, Union's Retired Members website, and we've got a Facebook page, and we've had up to 2,000 hits on that on some occasions when there's a matter of interest to retired members. So I'll ask you all to support this. Some of the people that are slipping through the net have got over 40 years of service with this union as activists and sometimes as reps, and somehow we don't recruit them. They slip through the net. We want to put that right. That's what this motion is all about. So thanks, colleagues, and I'll ask you to support it.
Okay, thanks, Norman. There's been no further debate. There's no opposition, so I'll go straight to the vote on motion 13. So if you can press your platforms and get your votes in, that would be great. As I said, motion 14, the one after has been withdrawn, and then the next motion will be motion 15, South Central Postal and Eastern Regional Committee. I believe it's Chad and Paul who'll be speaking on that. Right, thanks everyone. I've got the vote in. It's motion 13. The total of the votes are 162,214. Votes for the motion is 162,214. No votes against. So that's been carried unanimously. That's motion 13. So well done, everyone. Well done, the retired members. And obviously we need to make sure that we do recruit and we do make a vibrant and active retired members section in every branch. As I said, motion 14 was withdrawn. We're now on motion 15, South Central Postal. Chad Groom to move. You there, Chad? And then Paul Moffat to second. Okay, Chad?
Yeah, it was just waiting to unmute. Thanks, Jane. Chad Croom, Branch Secretary, South Central Postal, moving motion 15. Conference, this motion echoes similar concerns to those raised at the start of this section and seeks to identify a key area to try and help with a solution. For years, we've been in decline of membership, and this has been seen in my branch as much as anywhere else. If we wish to remain As a strong independent union, we need to recruit every new worker that walks through our doors, as well as some of our longer term non-members. And it's been recognised that the best recruitment tool we have are our workplace reps. Yet we seem to have left many of these reps to their own devices when it comes to recruitment skills. Yes, as a branch, we give them all we can, get all the help we can, and supply them with recruitment packs and some guidance. But for many, the only training they've received in this area would have been as part of a larger training package. The concern is that such an important piece of training can get lost within everything else that has been learned at the same time. We need an up-to-date package that is easily accessible and which can also be used as a reference tool. I believe the only recruitment training for our IR reps we have takes place in the essential skills courses. And some reps may have done this years ago or may never have attended at all. For reps in other fields such as learning or health and safety, I don't know if they get any recruitment training. And this can leave a gap for many, both in training and refreshing their skills. Having something that we can back up classroom training with can only improve on what we do have, as well as being used to reinforce the responsibilities, as has been mentioned, of all reps to do their bit in regards to recruitment. It was mentioned earlier that things in the TNFS sector are different. But in Royal Mail, we used to have an induction day where someone from the CWU would have the opportunity to meet all the new starters in the area at the same time. And this no longer exists. And instead, it is down to our local reps to meet with anyone starting in their workplace and sell the union to them on their first day of work. And having our reps trained and equipped with the tools they need on this first day is so important to improving their chances of recruiting these new starters. And knowing they have the right to be released so they can speak to them on their first day should be a key part of their knowledge, so they can challenge unhelpful managers who try to block them. And understanding our rules about retrospective representation means non-members see the only way to be represented is to be a member of the union. And not all reps know about this as well, which can be damaging to us. And in fact, where this rule has been followed to the letter, it has helped recruit some of our long-standing non-members to the union. I was even asked a few weeks ago by one of our more senior reps if it's our role to recruit new starters on temporary contracts. And this really brought home to me that refresher training in this area is essential if we are to bring our numbers up. Having a simple and effective training package with links to any resources reps may need will undoubtedly be an improvement. The training does not have to be accredited and could even be delivered in a function or a committee meeting, a couple of times a year if needed. And if it's done in the right way, it would not even have to be delivered as a formal course. Given the importance of recruitment, we cannot ignore that our local reps do most of the work. Let's give them the support they need and develop something we will all benefit from. With that, I move.
Okay, thanks, Chad, for that, for moving. Seconder, Paul Moffat, Eastern Regional Secretary. Paul.
Okay, thanks, Jane. Chair Conference, Paul Moffat, Eastern Regional Secretary, seconding the motion on behalf of the Eastern Region. Thanks, Chad, for moving the composite motion number 15, and I do believe this goes hand in hand with all the other motions that have been passed on recruitment today, and is an important one for our branches and for our reps. You've heard this afternoon Ray speak on the future of the CWU and recruitment and our ability to recruit, and obviously the ultimate price that we will pay if we don't recruit for our survival as a standalone union. So along with this, there's a high profile campaign in February that you've all heard about to significantly and immediately increase membership whilst embedding a culture of recruitment across all branches and the structure of the CW. That's what we've been told this afternoon. So the crunch question is, how are we going to do this? You know, we've been recruiting for years, whether that's successful in some areas and unsuccessful in others. But to do this and to achieve a successful campaign, we've got to now start putting structures in place that aren't just putting the culture within branches that Ray was talking about, but also imbibing in offices in our units and with our reps across the whole of the CWU structure. Because without that, we're never going to be successful. And obviously, to achieve this, our representatives in the branches must be given the right tools to do this. Now, I'm like Chad, I've heard many reps within across our region and other regions saying, you know, is it our job to recruit? Well, absolutely. We've all been told that, but we've got to understand why a lot of reps don't recruit. And there's many reasons for this. They might be unfamiliar with the recruitment process. They might be new reps. There might be a lack of confidence in recruitment. They might never have been directed to recruit as part of their role, or they just see it as not part of their role, which, you know, and I believe all of those reasons are valid reasons why some people don't recruit or don't feel it's their job to recruit. But we all know it's all our roles to recruit as part of the CWU on a day-to-day basis and as part of our duties, no matter where you are in the CWU or what level you're at within the CWU. It is vital that the correct tools and training are given and that we're going to move away from an unsuccessful campaign. If we don't put these tools in place along with the campaign and the processes that Ray has set out, then we are destined to fail again on recruitment, or just tinker around the edges for a couple of months without making any real headway in the recruitment and organising campaign. With the recent decline in membership, some 12,000 lost recently, and at present an unsustainable 186,000 membership within the CWU, we cannot sit back on our laurels without actually taking this. Chad's laid out in his motion exactly how it's going to work with Kate Hudson and her department. He's already said it can be an informal or formal process, an accredited or an uncredited process. As long as it does the job, that's something we should never get hung up on. As long as there are resources that can be rolled out to help the reps and the branches and achieve our recruitment strategy and the goals that will start in the magic February and the run up to that, it will deliver success on recruitment and organising as a fundamental part of our roles within this union. Again, I'll come back to what I said earlier, whether it's popular or not, we cannot have duplicate controls in recruitment. It's not worked and it never has worked. It's got to be done as one union. We have to achieve the recruitment in the core and non-core as part of our reps' daily roles in both IR and in the wider movement of the CWU, with a dynamic training package that all reps and branches can organise and achieve to reach the goals that are going to be set out for us on organising and recruitment. Without these actions and strategies going on, and ongoing training with investment, then the work ahead of us, and I will say, is quite daunting, because without this package in place, some of the other stuff that's been mentioned today on recruitment and organising is going to be hard to achieve within branches. Conference, I urge you all to support this motion. Let's begin the work together for our union. Let's begin the work together for our members and those that are in need of the CWU, whether they're existing non-core members or whether they're members that are coming from the outside, from the core that we've failed to recruit, or whether they're just people that we've missed because we've actually not been around the offices. So I urge you, conference, I second this motion, please support it. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Motion 15 is open for debate. I'm going to call in Mel Gorey, Scotland number 1. We'll bring Mel in, please, and then Mark Elwyn. And if people could indicate now, because obviously we're getting close to the end of this section. So over to you, Mel.
President Conference, I'm Mel Gorey, Scotland number 1. I am looking to support this motion. We, on the telecom side of things, have actually discussed this at great length during annual conferences through the Building Tomorrow Together. We've talked about ideas of how to change things, and what's actually asked for this motion I've suggested before with regards to having an online recruitment training package and embedding it into every single rep training programme we have out there. We are really missing a trick, and Dave's probably sick of me hearing this, saying this to him again and again and again. Why are we not having it in literally every single course that we have? When you go into the essential skills course, there is some recruitment included in there. You do a wee bit of overcoming objectives and you get 2 videos, one of an ideal situation and one of a non-ideal situation. That's it. Those 2 scenarios rarely happen. We need something that's actually better for our reps that are coming through and existing reps that don't know how to recruit. I used to be the recruitment officer for my branch, and thankfully some of those reps that was very much of, we've got recruitment officers to do that, I don't need to do that. They're not there anymore, so that's always a good thing. And the ones that we do have are very, very proactive when it comes to recruitment. But this isn't isolated, this is throughout all the branches. This whole section is just showing that something needs to change. Why are we not training our USRs to go, right, this is how, if you're in a health and safety situation, how you could promote the union at the same time. Our ULRs, all the people that we put onto courses, I check them to see if they're members or not. If they respond to an advert and they're not a member, I meet them and I talk to them and I ask them to join the union. There's no pressure into them actually joining. They can still go into some of the courses depending where the funding is coming from. But something needs to change, and I think that this motion is the answer to it. Please support.
Okay, thanks, Mel. I've got Mark Elwood. We're on motion 15. Terry, I think it's a mistake you've got your hand up, but it's nice to see you. Good afternoon. So if you can take your hand down, you're on the next one. if we get to it, by the way. Mark Elwood, over to you.
Good afternoon again, President Conference. Yeah, I just wanted to come on this motion because I think it's after the previous motions we've passed, it becomes essential to pass this one, and I'm sure we will. I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said if he was given 8 hours to cut down a tree, he'd spend 6 hours sharpening his axe. Well, our reps in the front line are the blade of that axe. If we don't sharpen them, if we don't give them the training they need, then we could blow the very first chance we get to recruit a person or a classroom of people. We might only get that one chance, so it's vitally important we get it right. It's an extremely difficult, well, I find it extremely difficult recruiting people. It's not something I necessarily enjoy, but it's something you have to practice constantly. And training on it, like the movers suggested, should be constant. It should be ongoing, not once every 5 years. It should be maybe part of every committee meeting, practicing and training on those skills. Because another saying I'm going to land you with is fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And this is part of that preparation. If we're looking at launching this in February, we need to start preparing now, or every single rep. Because if you do blow that first chance, and it's quite easy to do, reps could be nervous, they could be maybe not sure what to say. I think Angela Teeling, her response when she said, she'd probably say, why aren't you a member? I think that's probably a fantastic question to ask them, because it's not a closed question, and it'll make the person who's saying they're not a member think about why they're not. But we do need all those skills. It's a fine skill, and it is horses for courses. Not everyone is brilliant at it, and not everybody will be brilliant at it. But everybody needs to have that basic foundation that if they're suddenly confronted by someone who isn't a member, what are you going to do? And you've got to be proactive. You've got to start talking about the union, because you might not see them again for months, years, who knows. So yeah, please support the motion. It's extremely important. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I've got no more speakers, so I'm going to bring in Kate Hudson on behalf of the NEC. Kate.
To fully support motion 15. Conference, as trade unionists, we are all alive to the huge challenges we face in our movement. Over the last 40 years, we have witnessed a number of significant changes that have radically impacted on our members' working lives and the way that we work. Privatisation, deregulation, outsourcing, and advances in technology have totally changed the working environment some of us knew when we first stepped into employment. More recently, COVID-19 has intensified the toll on workers. Not only has it changed the way we work in terms of social distancing and home working, but it has also advanced the use of technology and highlighted inequalities that used to bubble under the surface. The wider world of work has never been more precarious, and the need for strong trade union membership and representation now is more crucial than ever. And has been said throughout this afternoon, throughout the motions that have been heard, recruitment and organising is everybody's responsibility within this union. And this is why the NEC are fully in support of what this motion quite rightly is asking for, to train, upskill our representatives so they can effectively map workplaces, gain the skills and the confidence and ability to effectively engage with potential members and activists within your areas. And I must point out in the contribution made from Mel, I'm pleased to be able to tell conference today, my team have already sat down with Ray and had initial discussions around how we can put recruitment and organising right through the heart of our core programme, because it is vital that it goes to every single representative within the CWU. We live in a country, fact, where 11 million people still live in extreme poverty, where 5 million workers work in the gig economy, and 142 people die every year in the workplace due to accidents. This trade union movement was created at a time when people desperately needed working standards and working protections. The future world of work tells us that we still need working standards, protections, and strong unions to achieve that. We can only be strong in the CWU if we recruit. And to do that quite rightly, we need to give you the tools to do that effectively. I thank Chad and Paul for putting this motion on the agenda pad and look forward to moving this forward. I support.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Right, there's been no opposition, so there's no right to reply. So I'm going to put motion 15 to the vote. There is no time to call any other motion on the agenda, because by the time we get the vote, it'll be well over. You need 9 minutes at least to get a motion in, and that's move and seconded and a reply. So motion 15 is going to the vote. So you make sure you vote on it. And yet again, thank you everyone who knows I made a mistake. Motion 13, right, when that was carried, motion 20 fell. Okay. Just for completeness. I'm getting very useful information off Paddy. He's telling me if I took NEC, write and reply, mover and seconder, no one speaking, it'd be a 16:15 finish. We've said 4 o'clock. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. These are just sections on times. It's like before, we just move on. Okay, so sorry for anyone who was waiting to get into those debates, but I'm sure they'll come forward at another point, and also the executive do take note of what has been put into conference. When I get the vote in, I'm going to see, because we will have a few minutes, so if Ray and Dave Ward could sort out what you want to say just for a few minutes at the end of this section, like what we've done with the other previous sections, whoever wants to come in on that. I don't know whether Dave, I don't know whether you want to come in now while we're waiting for the vote. I don't think it's been contentious, motion 15. So if you want to come in, you and Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. I'm actually going to ask, and I've just spoke to Ray and Tony as well. We're having a chat here. I think it'd be worth Tony just saying something about, you know, the reality of where we are at the moment as a trade union. We're a very strong union, but there are some issues that we've got to address, and that's why that was a really good session. We want to address them in a positive way. We want to address them as one union. But I think there are some things that it's worth Tony, you know, us being honest and transparent about where the numbers are, particularly given, you know, what was said. And I do want to respond to Nigel and a few people who said about the particular issue, you know, at the moment, count me in. I think the team understand that. And I think that, you know, getting our members a say over that issue at some point is crucial to engagement. And I'm sure the union will commit to that. And I'm sure people were listening to what was said during the course of that debate. But I think Tony's probably better to sum up.
Yeah, over to you then, Tony. But obviously we need to finish it, well, when we get the vote in at 4. I don't want us to go over, otherwise I'll get told off for not bringing a motion forward. Okay, over to you, Tony.
Yeah, I'm not.
In fact, Tony, I've got the vote result. I'll announce that and then come back to you. So this is motion 15. There is no consequential, so I can't make a mistake. Total votes were 162,432. In terms of votes for the motion 15, it was 162,432, and there was no votes against. So motion 15 is being carried unanimously. Right, I'm now going to hand over to Tony to do a little summary and finish this session off, and we shall go offline at 4 o'clock. You got 4 minutes, Tony. I'm sure you can do it in 2.
I'm sure I can. Look, it was a very interesting debate and a number of points made there. I think there's 2 things I want to say, and that is A number of people mentioned, if you like, spend the money. A number of people mentioned the impact of membership recruitment within the union. We're going to come out to branches and to regions with the reality, not what people think is happening, but the reality of what is happening in this union in the past few years. And I can give you some headline figures that, you know, since the end of by the end of this year, since the end of 2019, the last 2 years, this union will have lost over 12,000 members. 12,000 members. And, you know, you all know what the subscription rates are. You all know what your branch makeup is. You can do your own figures there. I had I can't remember who it was. There was a comment earlier and someone mentioned, you know, about having it. If other unions could have 96% density, let me be absolutely clear. 95% of this union's membership is in 2 companies, Royal Mail Group, BT Openreach. In neither of those companies do we have 96% membership density. And that's the real issue. There is, in some ways, you know, there's good news and bad news, and it's the same news, is the number of people who are in CW represented grades in those unions who are not in this union, because we need to go out and recruit them. And we will come out as part of this campaign with the reality of what that means for this union, what it means in terms of its finances. Somebody said, is it just about getting the money in, or is it about people's facility time, or is it about representing members? Actually, it's about all of those things, because they are all supportive of each other. And in that regard, you know, the point I think it was Paul Moffat who said in one of his contributions, this is about bringing this union together. It's nice to understand what the industrial department strategies are, but let's be clear. Motion 11, which was carried by this conference, is about a one union strategy. This is a whole union approach now, of which we've never had before, and that is how we're going to take this issue forward, because we all work together as one union for the long-term sustainability and viability of the whole union together.
Well done, Tony. Very brief. I'm now able to close the section today. Thanks everyone for your contributions. We'll see you all tomorrow, 10 o'clock, for general policy. Thanks everyone. Have a good night, whatever you're up to. It's been excellent.